100 Utterly Amazing Facts You Never Knew. Amsterdam's Royal Palace sits on 13,659 wooden poles. Because of the thick layer of fan and clay present in Dutch soil, all the buildings in the Netherlands are built on wooden poles. These wooden poles are fixed into a sandy layer over 35 feet below ground level. There is a gargoyle with Darth Vader's head on it on the Washington Cathedral. It was placed there after a child's design a carving competition was held in the 80s to decide what character should adorn the cathedral. Dolph Lundgren has an IQ of 160. That's right, the if he dies meme fellow from Rocky IV is actually a super genius. He has a master's degree in chemical engineering from the University of Sydney and the Royal Institute of Technology, alongside a Fulbright scholarship to MIT. Oh, he was also the European champion of karate in 1981. Two stealth nuclear submarines once bumped into each other by accident. In 2009 in the Atlantic Ocean, two stealth-cloaked nuclear submarines, one from France and one from Britain, bumped into each other out of sheer coincidence. They were both cloaked so well from each other that neither submarine could detect the other, even when they were only a couple feet apart. The Hawaiian flag purposefully looks like a combination of the British and American flags. This is because it was designed by then King Kamehameha I in 1812, and he wanted a flag that would appeal to both the Americans and the British. NASA's internet speed is 91 gigabytes per second. This means on NASA's internet you could download a high-quality 1080p movie in mere milliseconds. Normal household internet speeds are roughly 25 megabytes per second, which is dwarfed by NASA's hugely superior internet speeds. For their first month of living, babies only see in black and white. They also only see silhouettes and are unable to focus on items just after their birth. This is because their retinal nerve cells aren't fully established yet and they lack the capability to process visual information. In 1783, a volcanic eruption killed 80% of the Earth's sheep. The Laki volcanic fissure in the south of Iceland erupted over an 8-month period back in 1783, releasing some straight-up nasty hydrogen fluoride into the atmosphere to shower down on the Earth's inhabitants. Because of this, roughly 25% of the world's human population was wiped out. However, that pales compared to the 80% of the world's sheep population that died as a result. Malta has never experienced weather below freezing point. Malta is quite the popular tourist trap in summer and with good reason. It has never experienced temperatures below freezing point, 32 degrees Fahrenheit, and it is the only European country to own this plane. The Pentagon has its own private island off New York. It's used to run war games for the possibility of a massive cyber attack and resulting massive loss of power. It's completely forbidden for anyone to go there. Cheetahs love Calvin Klein. Wildlife crews trying to film these skittish big cats tried testing a range of scents of their cameras and equipment in order to draw cheetahs in closer for filming. Of all the scents they tried, Calvin Klein's obsession for men proved to be the one that cheetahs love the most. Now there's an advertising campaign that needs to be run. There's a Big Mac museum in Pennsylvania. It was opened by McDonald's themselves in 2007 to celebrate the 40th anniversary of the Big Mac, and features exhibits such as a 14-foot-tall Big Mac. The US has more millionaires than Sweden has people. There are over 10 million millionaires in the US, whilst Sweden has a population of less than 10 million people. The letter A doesn't appear in a written number until you reach 1000. Well, that's if you don't count the N in numbers like 420 for example. Also, the letter M also doesn't appear until you reach 1 million. Sombrero is just a generic Spanish word for hat. Rather than describing the iconic hat of the stereotypical Mexicans, the word is literally just a word used for any hat. The word sombrero derived from the word sombra, meaning shade. Ireland's population still hasn't recovered from the Great Potato Famine in 1845. The population of Ireland prior to the devastating famine was roughly between 8.5 million and 9 million people. Modern-day Ireland's population is estimated at roughly 4.85 million people. Camels don't actually store water in their humps. It's one of those age-old myths that you hear as a kid and take as fact, but it's not true, I'm afraid. Their lovely camel humps are actually used to store fat. But amazingly, that's not the only reason. Check out these other reasons why camels have humps. A man once tripped over his beard during a fire evacuation and died. Then mayor of Braunau am Inn back in 1567, Hans Steininger, was the proud owner of the world's longest beard, at the time, with a 4-foot hairy wonder. When he was caught up in a fire evacuation drill. On his way out of the flaming building, Hans's beard got tangled around his feet and caused him to trip and fall down a flight of stairs, breaking his neck and killing him. Psycho, 1960, was the first film to ever show a toilet flushing. Alfred Hitchcock is practically a household name when it comes to films, especially horrors. His 1960 horror flick Psycho captivated audiences and is one of the go-tos when people talk about the invention of the slasher genre. It was, for certain, a film of firsts, and one of those firsts just so happened to be the first time a toilet was seen flushing on the big screen. The world's largest singular snowflake was 15 inches wide. Most snowflakes are minuscule, delicate microscopic things. But this monster snowflake fell during a particularly bad snowstorm over Montana in 1887 and was the size of your average frisbee.